actually Lord of the Rings last night. It's
I
fucking
saw
wild.
that on your letterbox like 5 minutes before I joined the call. Like I was like on the verge of sending you a message that said, "Did you watch the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings again, you madman?"
This broadcast is intended for
Space Ghost, 15 seconds till showtime.
any broadcast, or retransmission without express
Get ready for a power trip.
But then soon we overcame them all. One by one, side by side, we gave each other love that's real and everlasting. Real love. We've come a long way.
So, I took February was the first month of no new Striker Star content because I ended episode 50 of West Coast Toast and Roast on a note that I want to end that series of podcasts and reassess how I want to do it and how I want that to look. And I think part of it, I don't know if you were in the loop, was that my contributors were always wonderful, but their topics and contributions were being buried by hours of my nonsense and antics and segments, and I decided no longer. From the ashes of West Coast Toast and Roast, this is Toast or Roast, the premium, the new one, where instead of casting a wide net of various topics, I bring in guests germane to one, at least relatively secluded topic. So instead of burying conversations under piles of silliness, I can more intimately edit close-up topics with the experts in the field, and those of you who click this expecting Willow and Dav, they shall be back. We have plans, but I'm also expanding to the Striker Star universe of amazing friends, and for the purposes of the debut of Toast or Roast, we are covering the Muppet Show 2026, and here, of Two Super Friends Talk fame, is my friend Martin.
That was my Kermit the Frog. Yeah, you couldn't see me flailing my arms, but that's what I was doing.
Your arms. Yeah!
There you go. You know what I was doing.
Yeah. So I'd like to know how much, I guess, I feel like this is kind of often with our dynamic. There are topics where we equally hold our own, I would say, but there's sometimes where I sit my ass down and listen, and you teach me about G.I. Joe or He-Man. Wink, wink for later this year, because you're definitely on the docket for when Masters of the Universe comes out. I feel a little more like I have the expertise in Muppets, and we're about to have some schooling. Not that you are completely unfamiliar with Muppets, but I think this is something a little more in my depth. And I was almost like, well, is Martin invested enough in the Muppets to do this? But then I realized there is one thing we have equal love and investment in, and that is Miss Sabrina Carpenter, which I think is half the battle in this situation.
I know I'm confused. I'm only here for my love of Seth Rogen. I know what you're talking about.
Looking at my big poster of Muppet Newscaster up in my bedroom.
I think I drift in and out of Muppets. I would say
Yeah.
it is fair to say you are a Muppet aficionado and I am my Muppet knowledge is contained to like the 90s.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't feel like I'm very up on some of the more recent Muppet projects, because I found like a series the Muppets had done that came out a couple of years ago. Absolutely no idea that it existed. And I think I sent you a clip and went, were you aware of this?
Oh, yeah. You said of the ABC mockumentary Muppet Show.
Yes, which looked amazing,
Yes.
by the way. I do plan to watch that.
It has some severe critics. A lot of people don't like it. I think it's pretty fun, to be honest.
It looked great. I was all in for that. I think maybe at the time it was because there'd been a lot of mockumentary stuff around that time.
Yeah.
It was oversaturated a bit, but now I'm like, this is a brilliant gold mine of unknown content that I've just discovered.
No, yeah, it's good. I think it's good. It has like the thing of random celebrities popping in and out. There's an episode involving Chelsea Handler and Scooter starting a romance that I think is really fucking funny. But yeah, but this, and I think that one was just very poorly timed, because if that had come out after a wave of, maybe more traditional Muppet projects, I think it could have been more warmly received, because it did seem to come at this point where Disney was like, we don't know what to do with the Muppets. It's my understanding, and it's a rich and vast history, that I might be getting some fuzzy details wrong on, that Jim Henson essentially sold the Muppets to Disney because he knew he was close to death, and he wanted some big company to just keep them alive after he wasn't alive. And it's been arguable that Disney has not done an amazing job with that. They've been doing things, but it's been of kind of varying quality. It's been frequently the kind of things where it's like, it'll come out and I'll just be so happy there's a Muppet thing that even if it's kind of mid, I'll kind of shake my head and take it. And that's, this has felt very back to basics, back to tradition. It is the trappings and format and inspiration of the original 70s Muppet Show, kind of brought back to life, which is it's something that people have been like, why not just do that? There will always be fun celebrities to pull into hosting. There will always be pop culture to lampoon. There's always that core like backstage sitcom of Kermit and Fozzie and Scooter and Piggy and the host having some kind of conflict. And Seth Rogen, who not to name heroes too flippantly in Hollywood, because that has aged poorly recently for various reasons. He, has been a big producer and he has just been picking out his favorite IPs and going, let's make something cool with this. And,
he's very much a guy who understands why the original thing was popular.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, because he's behind, like, The Boys and Invincible, and just sticking and he just seems to have enough, he's a nerd with enough fucking money to just throw at whatever he wants to. There's rumors that he's working on Venom and Figment the Dragon from Disneyland. So he's got like that Disney in the door, everyone will hear him out. And he wanted to produce this new, faithful revival of the Muppet Show. And people, they were dancing in the streets, I'm on a few Muppet Facebook fan pages and Twitter pages, and it's like, wow, you put ketchup on the burger. This is what we wanted all along. And it kind of seems like it wasn't even that hard to do.
No, this seems, other than paying your guests, seems like it would be quite a low cost. I mean, I know puppetry is a very complicated art.
Yeah.
But you've only got to do a couple of sets for this.
Right.
You don't have to do a whole movie. You don't have to get a massive cast of people in.
No.
I will say that the thing that I was most dubious about now, I mean, you say that this was kind of like a no-brainer, bring back the original format because that's what everyone loved. When I was looking through the 4 or so seasons of the original Muppet Show, earlier today, in fact, because I watched a couple in preparation for this, I was like, I don't remember half of these guests are because
it's all people. Half of them are dead. Half of them are.
Some of them are just like some random person who was popular at the time and wasn't even like a massive celebrity. It's Johnny Boy, the like names you'd never hear before. It's Max Shepard. Who? What is he?
It's Funky Winkerbean.
Yeah. And I was going through and thinking, no, don't know who you are. But every so often you get like Vincent Price.
Yeah.
And I watched the Vincent Price episode, and the Carol Burnett episode and the Cloris Leachman episode. I was like, I know
Yeah.
who Cloris Leachman is. She's the woman with the voice.
Mhm.
And, but like, a lot of those people seem to be people of the time who were more like variety performers and raconteurs and people who would show up on like late night talk shows and just
Right.
be funny, but weren't necessarily, they didn't necessarily have one specific talent or niche.
Yeah.
They were just generally famous people who everybody knew that you could stick in a room with the Muppets and people would be like, oh, I know that person.
Right.
And I was like, who is there now who is somebody like that? I don't feel like we have many like notable raconteurs and showmen and showwomen other than like Sabrina Carpenter's like the perfect example.
Right. That's like the top of the
That's
list,
perfect,
like
yes.
no brainer. And then past that, it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah, who else do we get? Like, who else has
Yeah.
that sort of energy? And I was thinking, like, I thought this was a season. I didn't even realize
No,
it was a
yeah.
one-off. I thought there's a
It
couple more.
it is a, I think Kermit describes it as, depending on how well this goes, the first of hopefully some more.
Yeah, I think just releasing them now again is a good idea because I think we would definitely burn through good celebrities to appear in Muppet
Mhm.
shows. Like, I don't know who else you would do. Who is like a big figure who would sustain another episode? And I really did struggle to think who you could get. Like,
Everyone has their like wish list, and it does. What's nice too is that Seth Rogen just seems to be on good terms with a lot of random people. He has that show on Apple TV, The Studio, where he can get any number of people just come on and play themselves and really like, point at them. And like, it's Greta Lee playing a really unflattering caricature of herself who's like
Yeah.
kind of a diva, or Olivia Wilde or Zoe Kravitz. Not to say, and I think you're absolutely right. I have a few ideas, but that'll unfold down the line. I think what's become really, I think what you've hit on is something that's become why it's gotten hard to schedule a Muppet Show, because it is like, so who fits that bill of like, a triple threat? We can do like some acting with Kermit and some physical comedy and some singing and what have you. And it's kind of been like everyone has some degree of like skit acting via their Instagram reels. Like they've all lip synced to a viral sound and like pretended to do something silly. And that's like the beginning and end of what they have. And they'll bring that onto like SNL, and it'll be like, so, and but, and as you put, I think there's like Sabrina Carpenter is like right at the top of that list. And I think as we go through this, we may be like, it'd be good, we may be able to explore who else may pop up. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear your choices later on. I thought of a couple, but
I dare say I have pitches, but we don't have to front load that for concepts for this character's dynamic. Bunsen Honey, what if Bunsen Honeydew met, I don't know, Pete Davidson? I don't.
this is what I mean. I think we're going to struggle for really top-notch guests.
Right.
And I've got two, and an obscene joke one. But apart from that, like, should we save that until the end, or
Let's save it. I think let's save it. So, and on to as to what's in front of us, it is they open. It's like a sentimental opening of Kermit settling back into the Muppet office and stage. He's turning on the lights. I dare to attest this made me a bit emotional as someone who. And I also would like to say, I'm with you in that I don't know who half the Muppet Show stars are. I was a level of freak that I picked up the Muppet Show box set DVDs as like an as like a 10-year-old. Like I was asking for those out of Target when they were like, I think they only did some of the seasons. I don't think they did the whole series. So I was like 10 years old learning who Zero Mostel and Sandy Duncan and Bernadette Peters were. And of course, and it's like I had like early Wikipedia where I could just learn about all these people, and it's kind of shaped the bizarre brand of nerd I am today, where it's like, who was your crush when you were 12 years old? And I was like, Raquel Welch on The Muppet Show.
The Muppet Show. I didn't I must have skipped past the Raquel Welch one. I don't remember seeing her.
She's, and yeah, she, I think if I recall correctly, that's the episode where all of the male Muppets are begging her to wear this skimpy outfit.
Is that like the famous 100,000 C outfit or something?
I think so. I think you're correct. There is, I think, stories out of school. I hate to not to besmirch Jim Henson, who is a entertainment genius and brilliant and kind-hearted man who many loved. It is well documented that he had a habit of cheating on his wife, and it would seem that the selection of Muppet Show co-stars, without implicating anyone in particular, were people he wanted to sleep with and probably did. So I think the Muppets wolf whistling at Raquel Welch all throughout her episode may have been a reflection of that.
The underappreciated riz of Jim Henson inviting celebrities who want to play with him and using a felt frog to win them over.
Genuinely, and I'm not trying to posture any seeing him. I think I saw like a picture of him in an old short film where he had his full beard and he was young and kind of ripped, and I was like, okay, that is tipping the Kinsey scale a bit. He is a handsome guy. He kind of looks like Chris Evans in some of his younger camera appearances. Back when like a vaguely hippie-ish guy with a big old beard could be like kind of a fuck machine. And now today, that's like a guy with a guitar that you're grossed out by.
Yeah, I mean, it was the style at the time. It was, late 70s, early 80s, wasn't it? So
yeah.
May I digress from our barreling into this discussion to ask, what was your first Muppet exposure?
Oh, man. So it was, I was telling you earlier about my gigantic zipper pouch of DVDs my parents bought and just threw me into the back of that SUV with when they had these big business trips and took me along too. And one of the most well-loved of those DVDs was The Muppets Take Manhattan, which is not the first Muppet movie, but in some ways I almost see as the default Muppet movie. It kind of has all of them. It has, I think, some of the most iconic songs of the Muppets. It's kind of where Muppet Babies comes from, which is like kind of genesis of Muppets for a whole nother generation. I would probably call that my favorite Muppet movie to this day, even though I would probably bend backwards that original Muppet movie's a bit better. I just have so much nostalgia for the songs and set pieces of Takes Manhattan.
Interestingly, Muppets Take Manhattan is the one I haven't been able to do in my rewatch because it's not on Disney Plus.
Yeah, that one, I highly recommend it. Some amazing songs in there. It has, like any Muppet movie, it has all these, and like I'm like a little kid, like maybe in kindergarten, looking at this and seeing, I don't know, Miss Piggy in a department store, I think with Joan Rivers, and being like, what a timely reference. Like how droll this dynamic.
I've seen it because my sister had like the Muppet movie trilogy on VHS back in the day, so they saw a lot of watching in the house.
That'd be first Muppet movie, Great Muppet Caper, and then Takes Manhattan.
That is correct, yes. And I think it was my sister who used to buy all the Muppet VHSs because we also had Christmas Carol, Treasure Island in Space.
Oh, yeah. And
we also had Muppet Fairy Tales, which was, I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
That sounds like one of the ones that's maybe for like younger audiences. like kind
Yeah,
of
pretty. I think it was
yeah.
like a straight to VHS or like
Oh
a
yeah, no, it
special or
must have been.
something. That got a lot of watching as well. But I remember really enjoying them. But yeah,
I
Muppets Take
do.
Manhattan. I can't remember a single thing about the film.
That has. I wonder if I say you can't take no for an answer. You can't take no for an answer. No, no, no. I don't know if I feel like I was hoping one of
No
the songs
recollection.
would jog your memory a bit.
Not in the least.
Damn.
I do. I kind of remember Muppet Babies being in it.
Yeah.
Because I definitely used to watch the Muppet Babies cartoon when I was young. Remember that coming on, and maybe that was the first thing I saw of the Muppets was the
That's
Muppet
fair.
Babies.
Yeah. Muppet
But
Babies.
also, I remember.
Yeah.
Were you alive when Muppets Tonight was airing?
That's honest. Let me double check. It might have been just before my time, and it was so short lived that it would not. It was like a year before I was born, and it was. I was born in '97, and it was '96 to '98.
Oh, okay.
So I was not conscious for it.
I remember watching Muppets. That feels like it really dates me. But I feel like I remember watching Muppets Tonight and being very excited about it. But then they replaced, like, Kermit's role was taken from him by like a new Muppet whose
It was.
name I
Was his
cannot
name?
recall.
Is it Ray? He's like the pink and purple guy.
I think it was Ray. And Ray has like disappeared from
Oh,
all future projects.
Clifford. His name's Clifford.
Ah, okay.
And you don't
Ray
see
sounded
him
fine to
often
me.
anymore. Yeah, he's the host of the show. There are and there's also we got Pepe the King Prawn in that one, who people forget was like paired with an Seymour the Elephant, and they've completely shuttered and gotten rid of Seymour and kept Pepe the King Prawn inexplicably.
I mean, we don't see Columbo anymore, the lamb version of Columbo.
Oh, that's a pull. That's a deep pull.
Very excited to see Peter Falk in The Great Muppet Caper. Forgot he was in it.
Yeah, no, so like it is another thing where it's like the rights of the Muppets. Like if Muppets Tonight were just on Disney Plus, I'd pull that up now and then because like, it's kind of following that 70s show format, but also in kind of a hip post Saturday Night Live, post Living Color mentality where it's like jazz and the sounds of the city, and you got characters like Clifford and Johnny Fiamma.
Johnny Fiamma. I was trying to remember that guy's
yeah.
name earlier, and I could not for the life of me. I just kept thinking Paulie Walnut's Muppet. That was-
Yeah. Like, as an Italian, I love any Italian stereotype character. He pulls it off rather well. But yeah, so, and as I mentioned to you, I had all the Muppet Show DVDs that they released. I think it was only the first 2 or 3 seasons out of the full show being 4 or 5 seasons. And it was kind of around pandemic time, around 2021, Disney Plus was like, we have all of the Muppet Show, finally. The ones that were never on DVD, the ones that have been adjacent to lost media, we have it. Except for like this 1 or 2 where the host turned out to be like really bad. I don't remember all the finer details.
Is there some missing then? Have we lost some episodes because of that?
I think, yes. I think there is someone who turned out to be a trigger warning child molester of some kind, and they're like, we're just gonna quietly say that episode didn't happen. And it's only 1 or 2. I think otherwise the collection is fairly complete. They opened some of the episodes with like racial stereotype warnings. There's maybe a Muppet we don't see anymore who like seems to play into like yellow face stereotypes or a Native American costuming. But I do really respect that even in some of those questionable terms, they didn't see it as necessary to like gut the Muppet Show and like fully sanitize the history, because it does have, it was the 70s. There are episodes that you're gonna like grit your teeth at a little, even though I think on the whole it holds up pretty well.
The Muppets are never mean-spirited, I think.
No.
Which goes a long way to just making them kind of But nothing is intended in a bad way, even if some
No.
jokes might have dated. It was never
Right.
at anyone's expense, except for
Exactly.
Carol Burnett.
And I was gonna say, I think my favorite episode of classic Muppet Show was Bernadette Peters, and that is the one I watched as a full grown ass man. And the anecdote I have is I was just laid off of my job, and I throw on the Muppet Show just to like relax a little. And there's a point where Bernadette Peters sings, was from one of the Charlie Brown musicals, One Small Person, and I was a sobbing fucking mess, and it was like the catharsis and it was Bernadette Peters and Robin the Frog, and she is singing to this little sock puppet, and I'm like, you believe in me, Bernadette Peters? God bless. And that show is great. They had and again, you know, as we rattle off all the guests of that old show, it is like, who is the Bernadette Peters of today? Who was like a musical ingenue and a sex symbol, and like could hold her own comedically, and like, you know, takes on all genres. And it's like Sabrina Carpenter, who, you know, I think there's part of it where Sabrina has been on Saturday Night Live more than some of the principal performers of Saturday Night Live, because she's tapped into this, you know, starlet persona that's not, you know, her occupation is firmly pop star, but she boasts so many different inclinations and talents that it's a no-brainer. And from interviews and things that I've observed, it also helps that she is Muppet scaled, in that she's not much taller than 4'11".
Yeah.
So they don't have to
zoom out too
do
much.
they don't have to do the camera tricks they usually do to scale her next to Miss Piggy or Kermit or what have you.
I think it's she's got, like you said, there's a persona. Like you need an act, you need a persona to do it, and you need to be known for like having a particular persona.
Yes.
And she definitely does. Like there's an element of like she's herself, but also being a bit of a character, and I think her music plays into that as well. So it's an all-round it's a variety performance, as they say. We don't use that term very much these days, but that's what it is. That's what she does.
Right, exactly. I think that, and this is a straight dude observing why and I think what she's kind of brought back was my theory as to why she's exploded. Other than the fact, and hey, I'm not saying it's like, I've been here since since before Espresso on the Sabrina Carpenter train, and my stocks are just paying off now. Let me be clear about that. Is what I think she's kind of what I think society started to fear is and I'm trying to word this really carefully, is that we observed the outcome of really sexualized pop stars in way of Britney Spears, where the sexualization of her persona and her performances opened floodgates for people to exploit her. And there was a lot of word of her conservatorship and how that interfered with her family and her personal life for decades after the fact. And I think there's been some like, well, we don't want our pop stars to be too like navel gazy, because that could open up, I just feel like that pokes holes in the culture in way of like people feeling comfortable exploiting them. So Sabrina comes along and plays into the sexuality, but also like is really careful to always express this idea of control and like autonomy in how her sexuality comes across. And there's part of it where I'm almost like, there's a part of it that I almost feel is inspired by drag performance and burlesque, in the way that rather than straight up sexuality, she almost comes off as like a lampoon of hypersexuality that she's kind of in on the joke of.
It's an amazing balance that she has found to play into the sexuality, but also like it's fun and it's innocent and it's
right.
it's not sleazy. This isn't sleaze.
Yeah, and you're not nervous that like she doesn't have like a say in what she's do. The way that it's become increasingly clear, pop stars of the past have been at the mercy of their producers. And maybe not wanted to present themselves that way. I hope I'm not untoward in analyzing that as, someone, as someone who, wouldn't be on the experienced end. I don't, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'm fine if people do want to be sleazy as well. But
Yeah.
like she just strikes such a perfect balance, and I've never seen it done before. It's an incredible thing she has accomplished.
And there was a lot of people upset about the Man's Best Friend album cover. And again, I might cut this if we get too deep. It's the one where she's on her knees towards a man's lower regions and looking into the camera. And a lot of people were like really set off by that. I think there was, I'm not going to say, even if I don't agree, I'm not going to say it was unreasonable hesitation and like criticism of the choice, all things considered, but she explains it as I'm looking into the camera to show I'm, making the choice and, in way of her preferences. And I just think that says a lot about, she is just like willing to, I think she describes it as I'm feeling all these strong sexual feelings and desires, and I'm just expressing them in a way that I can really own and maintain myself.
It works because she has that very grounded, down-to-earth, nice persona behind it as well.
And she ratioed the White House, and she's our hero for that as well. And it fits perfectly with and it's also like, she's a bit risque, and like, I think I also wanted to say, I was like having dinner with my dad and my sister, and I was talking about how much I loved Man's Best Friend, the new album, and my dad says something to the effect of, I saw her in one of those Dunkin' Donuts commercials, and I was like surprised. She's really seductive. Like, like he was shocked.
Like, what was she doing in I've not seen.
It was like she was doing like a 50s style telemarketer line with a headset and like a frilly outfit, and she was doing like the Dunkin' hotline and going, I know what you want. And it's like, what you want is a shaken espresso or whatever. But it's also,
I think I have.
Obviously, yeah.
You sent me that like mashed up into a sort of an insane meme. that feels like something I've watched, but maybe I just dreamt it.
I like all the memes of people editing Sabrina Carpenter on stage, so Snoopy is next to her and Snoopy is taller than Sabrina. She's so tiny.
There is that incredible photo of like Miss Piggy in the audience looking up.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible historic photo.
Oh my gosh, no, absolutely. And with all of that said, it's groundwork for how well she fits the Muppets, because Jim Henson intended, there's like this, he had done a lot of children's entertainment, full stop. And there's like the Sesame Street Muppets, and I think it's like Wilson's Corner, were strictly for children. But he really wanted the circle of Muppets that was like Kermit, Piggy, Gonzo, to not, obviously he didn't want them to be rated R, like losing their goddamn minds, but he wanted them to be accessible for a lot of different audiences. And there was a text of the Muppets kids could enjoy, very surface level, and I think also a more sophisticated or even like adult angle that really has helped the characters persist, that anyone of any age can enjoy them. I think the pilot for the 70s Muppet Show was titled The Muppets Sex and Violence, because he was so anxious and it's not that it was like an especially raunchy episode, but he was so anxious that he wanted to just make it very clear this isn't like just for kids. It's like, there's character traits that I think there's nuance to every character, where when you're a little kid, you can be entertained that Kermit is singing and flailing his arms around and has a good voice. And as an adult, you relate to how stressed out he is,
Yeah.
And I think, again, Sabrina Carpenter, it's like, all my students know who Sabrina Carpenter is, and all my colleagues and friends know what she's actually singing about. And it kind of,
Yeah.
she's able to toe that line really perfectly.
Yes, couldn't have asked for a better first guest for a revival, I think. Absolutely aced it.
Absolutely. And we open in a Scooter would open all the either Pops or Scooter. They would switch around depending on the season. Mostly Scooter would go, name of guest, 15 seconds to curtain, name of guest, and they did it with
Oh, yeah.
Sabrina. Sabrina Carpenter, and I saw God in that moment seeing it. So, like, this is what it would be like if Sabrina Carpenter were on the Muppet Show. And, like, and she pops out, and there's also, she pops out, she and Piggy kind of spat over their outfits. They have the same outfit. I think pairing her with Miss Piggy is obviously it's a no-brainer on paper. Sabrina Carpenter and Miss Piggy, as you put it, they've met before. This isn't their first rodeo.
Yeah, they know each other.
But given both I said both characters, but when you take in mind the persona Sabrina plays on stage, and there is some distance there, they both take so much from drag culture. Which Sabrina has been owning up to recently, with the Tears music video having a lot of famous drag performers and angling performances of that song towards recent movements in way of Save the Dolls and things like that. I think that pairing her with Piggy and having her very upfront and very textually saying how Miss Piggy has been one of her inspirations and admires her is kind of one of those circle backs to Sabrina's roots in drag culture. I found that to be very, because Miss Piggy has always been, that kind, I think what's made the character persist for so long is she has all this confidence and all this autonomy in a way that, defies audiences and what surrounding in an era where drag queens are being maligned and targeted. It's a very powerful thing, I find, to explore that dynamic between Sabrina and Miss Piggy, of all people.
Yeah, and it's it's a testament to, you do need to strike a good balance when you get somebody to interact with the Muppets, I think. There's that that famous quote from somebody or other online, I think, where they were like, Michael Caine treated the Muppets as though they were his fellow actors, and Tim Curry treated the Muppets as though they were his fellow Muppets.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the same with Sabrina Carpenter. She treats them as fellow professionals in the industry.
Yeah.
Not just crazy people that she has to endure.
Right.
And I think that's a good way to approach the Muppets as well. The Carol Burnett episode is, I don't know if you remember much about that one. She
Remind me.
on and she's just she's really frustrated and everything keeps going wrong and she keeps getting really annoyed. They forget who she is at one point, and she tells them all to shut up in the middle of a song and has a breakdown, and then she's strangling Kermit. And she's very apologetic by the end, but the whole episode is her just slowly being driven insane by everything going wrong and losing her mind.
And there is, you are kind of, sorry.
That was pretty much done, yeah.
That's something I highlighted in my Space Ghost episode, how you set up the fiction that your celebrity guest is talking to Space Ghost, and you kind of have the people who are immediately game, the people who are kind of in the middle and aren't so sure, and the people who just don't get it. And I think the Muppet, and you can kind of play with any of those still. I think it's, there are some episodes, I think it's Liberace in the original show is
I nearly watched that one.
Yeah, and he's there, he's not hitting, he thinks it's kind of about him, but you can still kind of play with that, and I think that's also the beauty of the Muppets, is that if you
That's
have
surprising for Liberace. I would have thought he would have been all in. But I mean, Vincent Price is he's fantastic, and he's
one of them. Yeah.
He's the Tim Curry approach, where he's just like, yes, I am one of you, my good people. I'm just going to be insane this whole program.
I think the Steve Martin episode is one where they're not actually doing like a stage show. They're just auditioning lots of bits. And Steve Martin keeps coming back in to audition different routines because he wants to be on the Muppets so bad. And that's a really good way to play with him as well.
Shame we didn't get like early 90s, late 80s Muppet Show. Like, I would have loved to have seen some of the guests we might have gotten out of that.
Like,
Chris Farley or something.
I was just gonna say Chris Farley.
Donald Trump.
Oh god. Is there like a Donald Trump cameo? I feel like there almost has to be.
There's not. I've
Donald
looked
Trump
it up.
cameo. You've looked it up.
I've tried before. The closest thing you will find is a picture of Donald Trump sitting with the dinosaurs. From was that a Jim Henson show, Dinosaurs?
Yeah, dinosaurs, yeah.
That's the closest you've got. He's like sitting down to dinner with the dinosaurs.
Yes,
They're at, like,
Fuzzy
a
Bear,
French
the great Fuzzy Bear. I've seen his routines, never forgets his lines, the great Fuzzy Bear.
It's surprising. He's usually like every pop culture zeitgeist. You find something with Trump in it, or a parody of Trump, but they never touched him.
No.
For the best.
They saw the future. They saw the future and were like, maybe not. I don't know about that. I'd say when I think of like, like you said, 90s, 2000s Muppets, that's like around, there was a couple Muppet Christmas specials that are kind of cute around that time.
Muppet Wizard of Oz.
Muppet Wizard of Oz, where they meet Quentin Tarantino is in that, which is that would be bizarre even if he wasn't in his worst era of PR, arguably, right now.
That's Muppets Wizard of Oz, I think, is the nadir of the...
Yeah, I think that's widely agreed to be, like, the worst one.
And what else was there? To be honest, Muppets in Space is, like...
So, that one kinda recently, and it's like, it's lower tier, but I think watchable. It has its moments. It has Jeffrey Tambor as the head of the CIA, I think, trying to capture the aliens. And it has, and I guess this brings me to my first idea for a Muppet pitch for an episode is, in Muppets in Space, Piggy has kind of a catty feud with a news reporter played by Andy McDowell, who Miss Piggy, like, karate chops and beats up by the end of the film. And I think they should do an episode where the guest is Margaret Qualley, and it turns out to be her secret ruse to sneak Andy McDowell back on the set to get revenge on Miss Piggy. I think
I love it.
Be great. I think greenlight it, make it happen.
I was just thinking, like, I want more guests to be physically assaulted by the Muppets. I want someone just beating the crap out of a guest.
Well, and like
throw
I was
them out
gonna
of a
say
window.
too, I was almost white knuckling, being like, I hope Sabrina and Miss Piggy don't like fight over Kermit, and like Miss Piggy beats her up, because like I do think the core of their dynamic being how they inspire each other speaks to those characters. On the other hand, it's always funny when Miss Piggy gets to go, hey! And, like, the puppet gets thrown across the stage.
Yeah. I love seeing, like, Muppet violence. Like,
yeah. They always...
Muppet just, like, grabbing people and they, like, disappear off screen and they pop back up and their hair's all messed up and things that.
They clearly just get, like, thrown sometimes. Like, the puppeteer just whiffs them across.
There's so many amazing shots in the first Muppet movie of like Muppets just being like just hurled into the distance, like, out of cars and against walls, and so good.
A lot of good. Kermit's legs get a lot of use in that one because they're always just dangling around. And
there's a fantastic shot in Great Muppet Caper of Fuzzy being thrown from a bus. Like I freeze framed it in midair the other day, so I've just got this picture of him on my phone, just being hurled through the air.
Oh man!
You
get
that
some good. Yeah, make sure you send it to me, and I'll throw it up there. Yeah. There's some great, onto that, which takes us kind of. There's a good. You've got Gonzo in a runner on this one. That, again, just feels very vaudeville-y, where he's gonna ride on rocket skates, naming every actress, I think either who won or was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. So you get this great runner of Gonzo skating through by the camera every 5 or so minutes going, Lupita Nyong'o, Glenn Close, Meryl Streep!
Yeah.
And it would be pretty easy just like superimpose a blurry image. And I'm sure there's some touching up, but it does seem like they just found a way to make the puppet fly across the screen.
Well, we get a second guest in this, which is
Yes.
Maya Rudolph.
Yeah. Well, because and she's in the audience, and my little corner about the audience interaction is that my personal favorite podcaster, Griffin Newman of Blank Check, Seth Rogen listens to the show and he's been on it. And so they were within texting distance that when Griffin Newman, he's a big fan of the Muppets, he said, I'd love to get a look at... Yeah, exactly, yes. He's the voice of Orko. And he would okay, if not now, he very nervously, and I think politely, texted Seth Rogen, I'd love to have, some foot in the door about the Muppets. And Seth was like, yeah, of course, come on over, we'll put you in the audience. So you can
Fantastic
see him
impression, by the way.
Well, before I shaved my head, I was identical to Seth Rogen.
This does play into the theory that you are secretly Seth Rogen.
Yeah. He's reviving all the IPs I would.
I know, there's a lot of coincidence. I've never seen you in the same place.
No. I need his Ozempic hookup. He's looking good. I need to... Yeah, and Griffin, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He would go on other podcasts to talk about the experience, and being within improving distance of Maya Rudolph, who from what he says on set, they treat the puppets like they're real performers, and it gets to a point where when Statler and Waldorf want to do some bits, the puppeteer for Statler will start to go, can I try a few? And kind of in character, try a few bits, and then kind of mutter, that one's not great. They're so deeply in character. And so I do hope that was, I think Maya Rudolph kind of falls into honorary human Muppet status, where she's flirting with this monstrous gray brick-looking Muppet in a way that I hope was not scripted and was fully improvised.
That bizarre look. Was he a pre-existing Muppet, or is he a new one?
I feel like he's I couldn't name him, and I can name some obscure Muppets.
Yeah.
He doesn't come to mind as quickly as a Sweetums or a Miss Mousy, so I'm assuming he's existed. He's been in some crowd shots, but I don't know if he's ever had a name per se.
I do love Seth Rogen's comment at the end where he's like, "What?" He's like, "Who's that guy? That guy's not canon."
A Muppet's not canon.
Yeah.
Pissy because he got cut from the show they tap into a very a human conflict for Kermit, being it's the first Kermit problem you come across when you write things down. It's he can't say no to people and the show is too overstuffed. But it is, that is Kermit at his core, is he's put upon, and he's deeply passionate and a great leader, and he can rally people, but he does have a hard time with some of those harder confrontations. So you have him kind of rebuffing, and I do think it's almost a meta commentary on we have one Muppet episode and we need to squeeze in Sam the Eagle and the Electric Mayhem and Bunsen and Beaker. And that's, I think, the conflict they had of we have to cut some people. We have 30 minutes.
Yeah. And it felt longer than 30 minutes to me. It felt like a big variety, almost movie length. But was it actually 30 minutes? Is it a bit longer?
It's 33 minutes. Whereas, if you compare it to a 22-minute episode, this didn't have commercials or anything. So it was a soaking wet half hour with no ads or anything.
I mean, they fit a lot in for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
They really went all out getting everything in.
I watched it when it first came out, and I watched it a second time for this recording. And I was like, oh, I forgot they got to do a bit with Janice and Swedish Chef. because they did try to, they knew there was no time to be wasted. They tried to squeeze in everybody, at least for like some small bit.
There's so many characters you could rattle off. Well, they didn't use this one though. That one it must be very difficult, particularly when you've got a guest as well. And you've got to wrap up the Maya Rudolph death storyline.
And there was Muppet Newscaster. I don't think he has a name. I think he's just Muppet News Anchor, and it's his. Here's a Muppet News flash: Maya Rudolph is dead.
Yes,
I was overjoyed to see him because he would just do something like that once an episode, and they didn't forget about him.
I appreciated the little pigeon Muppet when they were doing like an alleyway sort of song.
Oh yeah, was that
Right?
Rizzo's Bruno Mars song?
Yes.
I feel like that's gonna be the one people. Oh, it's a little modern. It's a pop song, but I feel like they always did contemporary music. It's just that it's not the 70s anymore, and it has like a cool set. They have like a concept for it of all the rats scurrying around, and they do some neat stuff with it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, can I ask you a potentially controversial question?
Sure, yeah.
What do you think of the voices?
Oh yeah, okay. I did want to touch on this, and I think the biggest elephant in the room is Matt Vogel as Kermit. Who I think, there's a lot to say about that because Matt Vogel, I think, is the third voice of Kermit. It was Jim Henson himself. Henson died. I believe it was passed on to Steve Whitmire, and the passing of the torch from Whitmire to Vogel is like something of a Pandora's box, actually, in a lot of ways.
I've read some of the controversies.
Yeah, and a lot of people are closed off to Vogel as Kermit, and I think that there are times where I was like, "Oh, that sounds a little off," but I think to his credit, I think my bottom line take on him is that for a really long time, he was only doing Kermit in like Disney crossover mobile games and commercials. And this is like, I'd say arguably his first real go as Kermit. And again, when it's like snippets in the early trailers, it's like, oh, that sounds, when you get used to it, I honestly find it really not bad at all.
I think that's it. I think it is just getting used to the different voice.
Yeah.
I think one of the problems with this is that everybody thinks they can do a Kermit voice.
Yeah.
Everyone's response to this is, "Oh, I can do a better Kermit than that." But as soon as you start, it's all well and good impersonating a couple of lines from Kermit and going, "Kermit the Frog here," but when you actually have to speak,
sign him up.
is that all right? When you actually have to speak in a Kermit voice for a prolonged period of time with brand new dialogue, you can't maintain a complete Kermit voice.
No, yeah.
And I will say that Steve Whitmire was good.
Yeah.
I think he's more close to Henson's Kermit than this Kermit. But just because you can do an element of the Kermit voice doesn't mean you can consistently speak in the Kermit voice. And I do think he is good at holding the voice and making it sound organic rather than being sort of oh, hello there, Sabrina Carpenter. Like, as soon as I start to say something that isn't a classic Kermit line, I completely lose it. And I'm not the benchmark for good Muppet voice acting. But I think a lot of people forget that, like, you have to do half an hour with that. You can't just come in and say a couple of sound bites just because you think you could do a good Kermit, or because you've heard someone else do a good Kermit doesn't mean this guy is necessarily bad, even if he sounds different.
And it is like, I think someone put it once, there's a difference between a sound alike and a feel alike for replicating a voice. And I think it was Jim Henson's daughter who was like, Steve Whitmire portrayed Kermit as like cynical and miserable. And I think some small part of that is the writing. But, it was an era where it's like, Kermit's always been put upon, but he is also like, he doesn't do this for no reason. He doesn't hate his life. And I think what Matt Vogel captures is that very, even if he is like, oh, good grief, and he's like stressed out, I think that when he goes into the song where he brings everybody in at the end, that's the truest Kermit we've had in a while.
Yeah, I think it will just. I think it's going to take some getting used to because people aren't quite used to the register of the voice. But I think he gets down like you say, the feel and the mannerisms very well. The other one that I kind of picked up on Piggy sounding different, but I think Piggy is an easier voice for people to do.
Yeah.
And also Fuzzy, I kind of picked up on Fuzzy not sounding quite as I don't know, but something about the Fuzzy performance didn't quite ring as true for me.
I didn't notice quite as handily on that one, but because Piggy and Fozzie, I think were both Frank Oz, who
Yes.
I just don't. And he's alive. I just don't think he does those voices anymore.
I think he's like 100 years old. So
Yeah.
he's probably just happily retired.
Directing, I feel like there's something where he's like he wants to direct again.
Yeah, possibly. I'm just gonna. Oh, he's 81. Sorry, I'm doing a disservice by saying he's 100. I thought he was way older than that. He seems to have been 81 for the past 30 years.
Yeah, no, he's been hanging in there. I think his name's David Goletz. Sorry, apologies. Who I think has been doing Gonzo for like a long time.
His
I
Gonzo's
want to
great.
say, yeah, his Gonzo. He was, yeah, he joined in 1973, which means he could have been Gonzo as far back as. Yep, he was Gonzo as far back as the original Muppet Show, as well as Animal and a few other characters, and he just is still. And I think Gonzo almost benefits from a little age. You get a little raspier, a little more down here. Like, you can maintain that pretty well.
Gonzo sounds very different in early Muppets as well.
Mm-hmm. Well,
His register definitely comes down more as the years go on. It sounds better for it, I think.
And I think that it's also I think they had to figure out who Gonzo was for a while. I think he was like either a Fraggle or a Dark Crystal creature that they just pulled off a shelf and said, I don't know, use this one. This is Gonzo. And I think, like, in early Muppet Show especially, he has this very sad demeanor to him. He looks a little depressed until he became really high energy Gonzo we know today.
Yeah, he's had an interesting character progression over the years.
Oh yeah. My favorite Muppet we haven't really touched on, but it's Bunsen Honeydew, and I was really happy we got a Muppet Lab segment where Beaker's eyes come out.
The horrific body horror of Beaker's eyes.
Oh yeah.
Exploding and killing a member of the audience.
Oh yeah. I think Beaker is one of the Muppets that they have the most like duplicates of, because they have a Beaker who has exploded and there's soot all over his face, and a Beaker whose eyes fall out and all that good stuff.
I'm gonna recut that audience scene where Maya Rudolph dies and like insert scenes from The Substance where like
Popping out.
spraying the audience with blood.
Another idea for my Margaret Qualley episode is Miss Piggy takes the substance. I don't know if that's too dark. She takes the substance and she doesn't change because she's already perfect. I don't know. We did get minor return. We got Miss Poogie in this one a bit. She's from the Jason Segel Muppet movie. She's one of the Muppets, and you might have noticed that more like mean-looking pig who in Having a Good Time,
yeah.
she goes like Lady Godiva, like she's become kind of secondary almost because she's just a funny-looking pig to have. And in they have Piggerton, which is the Bridgerton parody, which is floating around.
I always love a Muppet parody of like a show, or with just like some sort of animal name inserted into the title. Always just gets a big laugh from me.
Well, in the original, it was Pigs in Space, which was like a Star Trek take. And I think that's just like so a bit dated that they decided. And then Piggerton is kind of the combination of the recurring ballroom dancing sketch with Pigs in Space being a pig lampoon of whatever it be. I want like they should do like Muppets White Lotus. I think that'd be a good sketch to like flip back around to. Call it like, what could it be? I'm blanking on, I don't know, there's some pun you could do. The I guess maybe it's like Sam the Eagle owns it and it's like the White Eagle? I don't know.
Yeah, there's something to be done there.
Yeah. Musical numbers in this were I really loved. Sabrina Carpenter did Man-Child, and I do really want to highlight. It was set in a bar, and again, they towed the line perfectly, where she's like having cartoony, but it's kind of fun that she's like breaking a beer bottle over a Muppet's head, and it's not like, you know, not looking down at its audience. It reminds me of one of my favorite Muppet Show musical numbers, which was Sandy Duncan doing Nice Girl Like Me off of the Barry Manilow song Nice Boy Like Me, and just doing this dance in a bar with these full body Muppet costumes. And like, starting with that was just such a good first step, because I just felt like we were in good hands, that they knew how to make these characters interact that way. And I'm going to show some footage while I talk over this. And it's not one-to-one, but I just felt that vibe, and I felt so warmly welcomed by that.
I mean, the incorporation of the chickens, I think, was perfectly judged. Right? It's just like, we don't want to overpower what the song is, but also we also need to have some Muppet involvement that will be quite unhinged. So it's just just a bunch of chickens, bark, 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 then being blown away by a giant fan. Like, wonderful.
I think she does have, instead of "fuck my life," it does sound a little off to hear. I think she says "it's my life" instead of "fuck my life." No, yeah, because we're not gonna say "fuck," even though the song is 50% about. There's lyrics clearly alluding to Barry Keoghan coming too quickly, but we aren't gonna say "fuck."
Yeah,
and we get. There is something amazing too, but there's like no shortage of Muppet songs in like what I just called the Muppet Swamp, and they kind of bring that back. Like, it's Sabrina singing with Kermit and also with Piggy some really good classic numbers, and it's like they have this really good like mist machine. It seems like there's always an alligator or some frogs floating around. It just feels like it's cut from the same cloth. It always looks really cool.
I love how they always incorporate an alligator into the Muppets.
Yeah.
It's just it's quintessential.
Read my lips, alligator.
My most memorable line from the Muppet movie.
Yeah. Well, Arnie the agent, meet Arnie the alligator. He's from Hollywood. Good stuff.
Yeah, an insanely quotable movie, the Muppet movie.
Turn left at the fork in the road.
Moving right along. See, we can do this all day, but Sabrina Carpenter, yay! No, that doesn't. Well, did we cover most of the? Let's see, because there's the Rizzo song, there was Bunsen Honey, there's Muppet Labs, Seth Rogen, Maya Rudolph, Pinkerton. I think we pretty much covered it. It is a serendipitous start. It's going wonderfully. I don't know if there was much else you wanted to cover.
Well, we haven't had our guest choices yet that we were going to say.
No, that's a perfect segue. Who do you have in mind? We said Margaret Qualley.
We did say Margaret Qualley. Now, I came up with Chapel Roan was my first choice.
Oh yeah, slam dunk.
I thought that would be a great. I don't know what her views are on the Muppets.
I'm sure. I mean, she's kind of in that same realm where she's inspired by drag. I think there's some Miss Piggy DNA there. Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I think it would work. Maybe she could be like a slightly more hostile and aggressive like guest.
Oh, totally.
Sabrina was like she actually does get into a feud with Piggy. Like,
I think Piggy's a little afraid of Chapel. That's just me. I don't...
Yeah. And one was like one that you came up with a while ago, which was just Tim Robinson.
Easy, like, yeah.
Insane energy would just merge really well.
I love that. Yeah, like him and Gonzo in the same room, like forget about it.
Yeah.
Billie Eilish does a lot of stuff with Disney, and I actually think she'd be pretty good there. She could, she has some, small sketch comedy. Like, she's on SNL here and there. She does pretty well for herself. I think that's another where it's, you have her, I don't know, be weird with, Gonzo or Rizzo, or have Rizzo, dress like her in a big basketball jersey. Yeah. I think you have a good setup.
Yeah.
I also Unhinged. I don't know if they could actually do this, but I kind of like to imagine Mia Goth interacting with a Muppet as well.
Just taking it
'Cause,
very seriously. I can imagine.
oh yeah, well, I don't know. I love the W magazine interview. That's the one where it's like they're just in front of a camera and they're given like toys and like are told to sing songs, and it's always like a handful of Oscar like adjacent nominees. And they gave her like an Etch-a-Sketch, and she drew this little character, and she just shows it to the camera and goes, "It's funny, Stinky Bean."
Is that where she's just like, it's a little tiny microphone?
Yeah. Imagining her again, just like having those kinds of reactions, like naming Muppets that have never been named before.
Yeah.
Trying to see trying to think outside of. Oh man, there could be like. Will Arnett, I think it was him, had like a show called Crimeville or something.
Oh,
where he
yeah.
would and he would like pretend to be a cop, and I wonder if like you could do that with the Muppets as well. I could see that being really fun.
It feels
It was
people
like
who
try-
could like improv successfully feel like they would be a good shout.
Him,
Larry David.
oh yeah, he has to like answer for Elmo. I don't know.
Promo, yeah. Like
oh,
just really doesn't want to be there.
yeah. Is there been a Hugh Jackman Muppet collaboration yet? I could see that.
I don't think so. No, because yeah, he's got like the showman. He's a showman.
I could totally. I'd be shocked if they've never met like Hugh Jackman. I just rewatched Song Sung Blue, so I'm a little high on. Let's see. He's on the Muppet Wiki.
Okay.
Okay, he's met Sesame Street, but he's never met Kermit, so he has not crossed over yet.
Okay.
So that we could do. Anna Kendrick is another who has done Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock, but never like straight Kermit Muppets, and I think she's kind of born for that.
I'm trying to think of people who are like multi-talented and can do stuff.
That would. Oh man, who wants a chance to? What if? Oh, and I also think there's a handful of actors that I feel are like kind of wanting to show different talents, but don't always get a chance to. And like that's Dave Bautista to a T to me. Like him in the Muppets, because he's always in interviews like, I want to do something different. I want to do a rom-com. What if he romances Miss Piggy? He's like deeply sensitive and very serious.
Yeah, I feel like that could work.
I thought of Glenn Powell too, just for his like fascination with disguises. Yeah. It is fun to place it on, like, would this person be a fellow Muppet, or is this person elevating the Muppets to where they are? It's kind of a spectrum, kind of a...
Yeah, you've got one or the other, haven't you? Where you
Yeah.
people who go.
Well,
See.
they had Christopher Reeve on the old show. I could actually see, David Cornsweet kind of playing homage. I could actually see him being a good fit.
Corin Sweet, I think you mean.
Cornsweet. You're reenacting some old sketches. I feel like there's like an easy choice I'm blanking on as well.
I feel like
What
there
if it
must
was-
be loads we haven't thought of, but
Maybe it's just like the Oscar buzz. Like, just I'm looking at so many Oscar articles. I could see like Stellan Skarsgård doing something weird.
I'm so glad to be here with you people. In full Baron Harkonnen makeup.
Oh yeah,
To tie in with the next June film.
there you go.
Keep finding new Muppet stuff every time I
They-
turn around.
It's not that they ever stopped making Muppet stuff the way a lot of people think. It's just they're bad at showing it to people. Like, there was like a few. There was a Muppet like music industry dramedy about the Electric Mayhem that was one season, and it went up in, I want to say, 2023 or so. Came and went, and is now taken off of Disney Plus by way of Willow getting scrapped for tax return. And
Oh,
if this
God,
is the
yeah.
first year, if this is the first you're hearing about it, that means that show existed and ceased to exist in the span of time Disney failed to market it to you.
Yeah.
Which is our way
Wow.
of saying, watch the new Muppet Show before they do the same to it. We want more.
Has this done well, do we know? I feel like it has.
Streamers are bad at releasing numbers, but I've seen enough people talking about it, and no shortage of people basically saying, I am leaving it on loop while I sleep, so Disney gets the message that we want more. And I was like, yeah, more power to you. Sounds good.
It was like number 2 on the Disney Plus chart when I looked yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Sounds
feel
about
like
right.
it's done pretty good.
And it's got like, I want to say like 100% on like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. I think I'd be pretty shocked if we didn't get at least something. Like, I don't even need like a full season order. Maybe every, like around different holidays, we get a special with a different host. I could even live with that.
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to avoid fatigue if you just do.
Uh-huh.
Like, every couple of months they do a new special, and it's something exciting
Yeah.
to look forward to. And I would love, a Thanksgiving and a Christmas special.
That'd be amazing, yeah. Well, they had one of my favorite Muppet Christmas movie was one where was it Whoopi Goldberg? I think she played God, and that'd be nice to bring her back and have her play God again.
Have the Muppets been at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade? Let me ask you that.
They were, so when I put together that hypercut for you, they did the ribbon cutting introduction that I showed you. What you described as a Lynchian shot down
Yes.
Miss Piggy's mouth.
I do remember that now, yeah. It's all come flooding back to me. And I remember the Kermit float.
Yeah. Which just makes me wish David Lynch got to meet the Muppets, but I don't think he ever did.
Oh, well, we're going to have to just look up that before we go.
If not that, get Kyle MacLachlan to like host an episode, just do a weird Twin Peaks thing.
He's on the Muppet Wiki.
Yes.
There was
American film.
a parody of him called David Finch, who appeared in the Twin Peaks parody.
Ah man, they're a step ahead of us as always.
They got his hair.
They turned me into a Muppet. They got my hair exactly right. In reality, I do not have 2 beaks.
Ugh.
They're made of felt, Coop.
Ugh.
Not
It's your
quite a
felt
mop,
or
Not
die.
quite a puppet.
Yeah, picture.
Massive quantities.
You would have fit in so well. Big Muppet energy. Have you seen
Yeah.
that when he had like the army of Woody Woodpeckers living in his office?
I think so, yeah.
Just found them at
I
the
think-
side of the road.
I think you do a David Lynch hosted episode. You have it that he's too weird for all the Muppets. Like Swedish Chef and Kermit are like, what is this guy's deal? Like, well, this will either age extremely well, and we'll be talking about the Madison Beer hosted episode in 12 to 18 months, or we'll never hear from the Muppets again, and we'll just have to see. We'll have to find out. Until then, do we give the Muppet Show 2026 toast or roast? Being, do we toast it in celebration or roast it? But I think it's pretty clear that we toast it.
Do we toast it by setting it on fire, or do we roast it by roasting it and consuming it and absorbing its knowledge? Is that what you mean?
Because we like it, so we eat it.
Yes, exactly.
Damn.
I've already-
complicated this.
I complicated the format. I will toast to the Muppet Show. I thought it was a great piece of work, a great harkening back to the original Muppet Show. It worked on me, the nostalgia of it all.
Oh, yeah.
What I wanted from Muppets. I sometimes think the movies are sometimes a bit too long for me to get into, like the more modern Muppet movies. And to a certain extent, I feel like I've seen some of that stuff in the previous movies, and that it doesn't seem to me like they're ever bettering the original movies.
Right, yeah.
With this, I just want bite-sized sort of Muppet content.
Oh, yeah.
With them doing weird stuff, and that it suits me very well. So more, please.
Is a unanimous toast for the Muppet Show 2026. Let's greenlight this shit. Let's get some more somehow, some way.